Before we start, I gotta be a hater here for a minute, Oaks. You guys use TikTok, yeah? Now, can you explain to me why every tickhead says, oh, you guys know me? You Oaks know this about me. You all know how Bro, we have no idea. You have 5.5 million followers on an app I used to take a cuck with. Even if, and that's a big if, I hit that follow button, I will never see you again because I only live on my For You page like everybody else. You got to be memorable as who gives a wet if you do makeup reviews. But speaking of wet, let's go in dry. I don't want to waste your time with no spit. So I was at work recently just vibing, listening to some old official podcast episodes. For those of you unaware, it's Moisties and Hugbees of podcasts along with their mates Kaya and Jackson. When they got onto an interesting topic that kind of blew my mind away. Apparently in 2021 there was a controversy involving the popular role-playing game DnD about some problematic character traits. Now personally I paused the episode there and rolled my eyes because I'm not particularly interested in some kid who's got an insanely good life who's just looking for cuck to complain about. But curiosity did get the better of me. And later on into my shift, I had to Google it. When I say nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to read, I mean it. You could have let me wax and shave, could have let me get a nice browning tan, spend 12 months in the gym focusing just on my muscle cores, then sprayed me down with some expensive ass cologne, and I still wouldn't have been able to brace for the mind fucking I got. And nor will you be, so let's read the tweet that kicked this all off. CW blatant racism. I'm in genuine awe that this shit came out of this edition of DnD. Holy shit, why did you censor only the one shit? That doesn't even make sense. Role-playing and all. Most orcs have been indoctrinated into a life of destruction and slaughter. But unlike creatures who by their very nature are evil, such as gnolls, it's possible that an orc, if raised outside of its culture, could develop a limited capacity for empathy, love, and compassion. No matter how domesticated an orc might seem, its bloodlust flows just beneath the surface. With its instinctive love of battle and its desire to prove its strength, an orc trying to live within the confines of civilization is faced with a difficult task. Now, what do you mean by blatant racism? That's a weird taste in my mouth. These are fictional characters. Surely blatant racism can't even be a thing. Oh! He means that orcs are meant to be black people. Which just, Jesus Christ, bro. Just say the N-word, get it over with. You've already got your dick on the desk, you may as well bang it like a gavel. I'm not one to vilify people for the slip of a tongue or the mistaken opinion, but you thought of this in your mind. You somehow made the mental leap that orcs share similar characteristics to black people. And your proof is these lines. Indoctrinated to a life of slaughter, incapable of developing empathy, and is unable to be civil no matter how hard it tries. How the f did you even get there? Now you might be a particularly sympathetic viewer, and you might say you're probably just mischaracterizing his words. He probably didn't mean black people. Well, how's about you shut the fuck up and let me finish? He followed up that outrageous tweet with another absolute banger. What race are you referring to, Quinn? I just want to know for a friend. It's about language used by colonizer to justify colonial violence. No, it isn't, and that doesn't make any sense, moron. It is the structure and the rhetoric of racism, which you know a lot about, lad, seeing as you're spewing absolute hate speech at the minute. Not a one-to-one portrayal of real-world race. I know I sound chronically online for absolutely destructing this tweet, but it's so contradicting. You can't say it's the language used by colonizers, and then say it's not a one-to-one portrayal of real-world race. And to put it bluntly, nobody but you was thinking this. Nobody put the 1 or the 2 or the 5 together and said orcs, big, green, violent orc creatures, have anything to do with my sweet, beautiful black people. I don't like to morally grandstand. I think it's insufferable. But if you're thinking about race so much to the point that you become racist, it's time to step away from the computer. It's time to go step outside, and it's time to go talk to real people. Because you and your little circle jerk friends aren't doing each other any favors. Now, because I thought it was absolutely hilarious that anybody could even have this opinion, I decided to look up a couple of the news articles of that time. And unsurprisingly to me, those news articles took the most controversial take. That this proud Klansman Quinn over here is absolutely right to point this out. You're not an idiot. You know that journalists nowadays are just trying to get clicks. They don't believe in half of the things they say. Even so, I gave them the benefit of the doubt and read through the points that they were trying to make as how orcs could be racist. And their main takeaway is not so much the actual character of orcs, but their origins within Tolkien. As the writer of Lord of the Rings and the The Hobbit was the original creator of the concept of orc. With absolutely zero evidence and zero proof backing up any of their claims, they made the bold accusation that Tolkien was racist, and just kind of left those words there like a sun-dried turd with nothing to back it up. This made me inconceivably angry! And I went on a mission to prove how not racist Tolkien was. Admittedly, the results weren't exactly in my favor. My first and most obvious question was, where was Tolkien born? Should be simple enough. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's not too bad. He left when he was 3 years old. Bad start, bad spawn. On the plus side, he was at least on the championship team. Number one at segregation. Number one at segregation. Oh, I'm sorry, US of A. You oaks couldn't be as vilely racist as we were. Yeah! I wanna break faces on the pavement. South Africa. Okay, so obviously that doesn't bode very well for my argument. Let's have a look to where he moved to. Birmingham, not that bad. Granted, it was very much a white area. So haha, in your face, there's absolutely no way orcs could be black people. Oh, Jesus Christ, really?
In 1948, Britain was just starting to recover from the Second World War. Towns and cities had been bombed. Thousands of homes and buildings were destroyed, and they all needed to be rebuilt. In the Caribbean, thousands of men and women had served in the British Armed Forces. After the war, some of them answered an advert to come to Britain, where there were lots of different jobs available. Other people just wanted to see England, which they'd heard so much about. They all got on a ship, the Empire Windrush, which left the Caribbean to travel thousands of miles across the Atlantic Ocean. This was the first time so many Caribbean people had come to live in Britain. Many more arrived in the following years.
Okay, but how's about this? This means nothing if the books were written and published before the Windrush generation. Oh, for fuck's sakes. So, yeah, it's not looking too good. When he was born in South Africa during one of the worst racial periods in human history, moved to Birmingham, which is an hour outside of the city of London, a predominantly white area, and only published the first Lord of the Rings book a couple years after the Windrush generation, when a mass influx of black people came into England, it seems a little, it seems a little bit iffy. And it seems that it's possible that orcs could be based on black people. I say it's possible because there should be a black character featured in any of the books. There isn't. Oh god. Now, having said all that, I don't have a grander point. Tolkien was probably racist, as apparently orcs are meant to represent the dark reflections of humanity and elves. I could have forgiven you if there was like one black swordsman in the background or something, bro. There's a lot of random probabilities that kind of line up to a conclusion. And that conclusion being that the originator, character creator of the orc was probably a little bit kind of... was racist, I'll give you that. You know, if a stack of dominoes is falling over, somebody's got to be knocking it over at some point, right? However, and the big however is, even if that was Tolkien's intent for it to be an allegory for race, which I'm not saying it definitely was, I'm just saying it seems like it could be, that isn't the modern interpretation of an orc. There is zero mental connection between orcs and black people in the modern era. You know, we all know that words and meanings take on different shapes as the years go by, and that can also happen with characters. And the orc at this point is just a standalone orc thing. It's just a creature that Tolkien created, and it's just a creature that we associate with stupidity, strength, and, you know, being brutal. I know it makes you feel really good about yourself to point at really old works and say, look, it has its origins in racism, so therefore it's still racist to this day. But realistically, that's just not how it works. Definitions and parameters change, my dude. And as far as I'm concerned, by DnD standards today, those associations may as well be mute. Those possible links are 7. And to tell you the truth, if you're an activist, if you're this grand white knight who wants to do justice to the entire world and splooge your righteousness on top of my mouth, please do. The splooge part, not the righteousness. You gotta move away from this weird, ridiculous stuff that is nothing. Why are you focusing on the possible racial aspects of D&D, a fictional universe where people play pretend? How's about you go outside and go talk to your local government about the practice of redlining, you f***ing waste of space? I just really don't like the fact... shut up, nobody really cares. You need to really focus on real issues and separate fact from fiction. Also, I'm not being funny. None of you watching right now would have known any of this cuck, especially not that guy, CW Chris or whatever the hell his name was, Quinn something, unless I pointed it out. So it just goes to show how severed that connection actually is. How dead in the water it is. What's the end result of this video? Nothing. I hope you laughed. Legally, you have to subscribe, and I shall see you guys next time. Love you all. Bye bye.